As you might have guessed, we are at the Military Museum of El Salvador, and we're going to get to know a little bit about El Salvador's past war history, what's happening right now, and the future of the military in El Salvador. So let's go.
The Military Museum of El Salvador is actually located on the old premises of the El Zapote Barracks, and in 1993 was initiated by the Minister of Defense to be the military museum. It's directly across from the old presidential house. It is located in San Jacinto, and the hours are from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock, open daily. Once you enter on the left, it has all the various awards from different military tournaments and operations that the countries in Central America have yearly in order to just stay in practice. Across from that are the different branches of the military and Francisco Morazan, the last president of the United Provinces of Central America.
Cute. This cute little Salvadoreño boy on top of a volcano, and the torogos, the national bird of El Salvador, and Markelisquat, the national tree of El Salvador, which is blooming right now and is gorgeous. Beautiful pink flower explosion.
The museum has different various rooms that divide up the history of El Salvador and an upstairs, but you have to have a tour guide to go there.
This is the room for the presidents and the ministers of defense of El Salvador. Let's go check it out.
The shortened story of El Salvador's history is during the 19th century, there was a lot of different coffee baron landowners that fought with their own militia against each other for power until about the time of 1932, when Maximilio Martinez came in and collected everyone together under one government, right around the times of the Great Depression. These barracks were the communication center for the Second World War of the El Salvador military, and they have many, many different artifacts.
And check it out, just like at the Parque Infantil in my other video, they have the same plane for the Principito. They must have had a few of those.
As you may have noticed, a lot of the different artifacts here are military equipment that came from the U.S. to El Salvador in the 1950s, which actually gave them the advantage in winning the war, the football war, or the War of Legitimate Defense in the 1960s against Honduras. This room commemorates the conquest of Spanish conquistadors over the area called Cuscatlan, or the original El Salvador. This is how El Salvador protects the Pope when he comes to visit, in a papamobile. This room is dedicated to the 100-hour war, or the War of Legitimate Defense, that was between El Salvador and Honduras in 1969. Yes, it only lasted 100 hours due to embargoes and intervention. This room is dedicated to the Civil War of El Salvador that happened between 1980 to 1992. It has various weapons and memorabilia that were from that time period. This is about General Arce, the man who helped fight for El Salvador's independence from Spain. Upstairs is where you will find different relics and pictures of the various military leaders that have been in control over El Salvador's history. It has been a long history of fighting in between liberal and conservative factions, trying to do what's best for the people at the time, but unfortunately ending up in much corruption and usually another coup just around the corner. It is vitally important to study history and what the people were going through and the people were thinking at that time, because honestly, if you don't study history, you'll probably repeat it, because us humans haven't changed that much in the last 1,000 years.
Salvador hasn't had a war with any other countries in a long time. So people can think, well, why in the world are you going to keep up a military and what are they going to do? Well, de hecho, El Salvador has participated in a lot of peacekeeping international missions with the United Nations and contributes, like it just did with the earthquake in Turkey, it contributes some of its military missions to go and just help wherever help is needed in the world.
Check out this surprise. It ends up that the National Cathedral is exactly straight across the presidential house, directly in line with the military barracks and military museum. And guess what I found? I found Mary Carmen. She's a subscriber, and it's so fun because we're here and we're gonna eat here, and she has this cute little cafeteria.
Hola, soy Mari Carmen y trabajamos aquí en el Museo de Historia Militar. Los esperamos. Por las mañanas tenemos desayunos muy económicos, muy higiénicos y bueno, los típicos desayunos salvadoreños, ¿no? Frijoles, huevos, plátanos, tamales, variedad de frijoles, diferentes formas las hemos hecho, preparado. Aquí los esperamos. Además son muy económicos, tenemos desayunos a partir de 1.25 y luego, bueno, hay para todos los gustos también.
And that's one of the best things that I love about El Salvador is that the food is so it's so economical, and you can get like a full plate for just $2. You get filled up completely. And so she's here for breakfast and for lunch, and they do have smoothies too, which you guys know I'm big on smoothies. And explore El Salvador because there's so many amazing things that you will find, and awesome people too. I have tried to stick as close as possible to the facts and not bring any outside opinion. Most of my information came straight from their website or from Wikipedia. So I challenge you to go and to learn so much more about El Salvador's history.
So that is my day at the Military Museum of El Salvador. And as I've always said in my channel is you're going to hear so many different stories from so many different sides. Go as close to the source as possible. Read the diaries of the people that were there, because when you get information through the lens of someone else, it's always going to be a little biased. So I am Jenny Adi. Travel more, live more, be more. We'll see you next time.